Welcome to the Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health podcast. I'm Maya Ratla, medical astrologist, astroherbalist, and green witch. I was diagnosed with endometriosis at 19, and I was told I would never have children. I healed my body through the power of herbs, alternative health practitioners, energy healing, and more. At 28, I had the baby they said I would never have, without any interventions. I refused to believe that my body was not able to heal itself. Along this journey, I stumbled across medical astrology, and it resonated with me so much. I started down the path to learning this unique system that had been used for thousands of years in the medical community. I now help other women heal their bodies using their cosmic blueprint, the unique blueprint that every person has embedded in their DNA from the stars. This system helps me see what's going on in your body on a cosmic level and exactly how to help you give your body what it needs to heal itself. We are all uniquely and amazingly designed, and when we learn to work with our design, love ourselves for how we are designed to function, and integrate the cosmos into our lives, I truly believe that we can see true and lasting health brought into our lives. If you are ready to change your life, heal your body, and learn to deeply love who you are, this podcast is for you. Come join me as I discuss medical astrology, astronutrition, astroherbalism, health, wellness, spirituality, transformation, and so much more. I'm so excited you are joining me. I get up in the morning, I eat my pre-workout meal that I have planned, I go to the gym and I work out because I need some kind of movement first thing in the day to really help me be able to get the rest of like whatever else I need to get done. So I go and I do that. That is literally, and I do not miss a day. I am like super crazy about making sure that I get there only because I feel so much better when I do that, right? Outside of that, I have like things scheduled. And then the thing too is like when I combined that with learning about my human design too, was being that reflector, is that I'm literally not made to have a ton of structure that I follow, like, right down to the T, like you were saying, like, okay, at 9 a.m. we're doing this and at 10 a.m. we're doing that. But I'm also based on what's going on in the sky, and especially with the moon and whatever phase and sign she's in, I literally wake up and every day I'm like almost a different person. Like one day you'll get super happy, talkative me who wants to be, recording a bunch of podcast episodes. So that's what I do. And then like a next day, I might be the more introverted side of me that just doesn't want to be around people or talk to anybody. And I'll go to the gym with the resting bitch face and don't speak to me and get my shit done. And then I'm working on like the internal side of the business. Like, hey, let me work on, making some of these sections for my course. Let me work on this stuff. Let me, work on doing a medical astrology reading because I can sit there by myself and do those, and learning to accept that that's who I am, a person who's very changeable, who every day is, potentially a quote unquote different person, has given me so much freedom and acceptance and love for myself that I feel so much better than I ever did as like a kid growing up, where my parents tried to stuff me into a box and force me to be something that I was like legit never gonna be, like ever. There was no chance in hell that that was ever going to be who I was going to be, because that's just not how I'm designed to be. I'm just literally cosmically designed to be something completely different and very much like a changeling in a way. Like I'm all over the map, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what I love about astrology, is it really helps people learn to be okay with exactly who they are, how they're designed to be, and stop you beating yourself up, right? Like there's no need to beat yourself up because you do stuff this way, but no one else does. Who the fuck cares what other people are doing? If it works for you, keep doing it, sis. Like just keep doing it.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. That's I mean, listen, I got 4 kids and they're all vastly different. I mean, I've got 18-year-old to 3-year-old. Like I'm always like bouncing back and forth as a mom. And astrology is one of those things where like I even started looking at their charts to see like, okay, how can I parent them? Because I can't parent them all the same. You're talking about growing up in your childhood and parents kind of trying to force you to like be in this box. And one, I don't like that. I mean, my parents did the best they could. I feel like they did the best that they could for what they had, and they didn't do a bad job, because I I like myself, but there was a lot of unlearning that I had to do. I chose to
Mhm.
unlearn it because that was my decision. I didn't have to continue on, and I took the responsibility of saying, you know what, I don't really agree with this, so I'm going to learn a different way, or I'm
Yeah.
going to take responsibility, and I'm going to pursue other avenues. And religion was something that I always chased against, just because I was born and raised Catholic, and shit just didn't make sense to me. And in the Catholicism
Same
religion,
girl.
like it just never did. And I just felt that it was so full of fear, and it did put me full of a lot of fear. And there was a long time I felt
Mhm.
like I almost had a target on my back, energetically. And so that's one of the things
Yeah.
in my love program is I learned how to conquer my fear of stuff like that. But part of my program is I clear negative entities for people now. So I clear that negative energy, and it's really about sitting in the space of empowerment, because I don't it's so scary to be in that fear. Like it's I hate
Yes.
seeing my kids fearful. It's like I remind them, like,
Mhm.
hey, you have the power to put yourself in a protective bubble. You put yourself in that bubble and
Yep.
nothing bad's gonna get you. No monsters are gonna jump out of your closet. I'm here, mommy's here, I boarded the house, like we don't have to worry about it. And
Right.
and there's times when I do my own like energetic exploring to make sure that I don't have anything random like lurking around my house, which I don't, because I ward really good. But it's just one of those things where you have to let your kids be free to be what they want to be. One, so that they can grow into like who they're supposed to be cosmically.
Mhm.
Two, those of us who have been through like some traumatic times growing up, we all have them. They're experiences that you have for a reason. It doesn't make them okay. It doesn't make it like right. It sucks that you went through it. I totally feel for you. But I'm also the type of person that I look at the experience and like, okay, why did you need why did what's the purpose? Like what was the purpose of you going
Mhm.
through it? And soul contracts is a thing, like that's like a whole other conversation. But I just feel like we
Yeah.
have everything we go through is just it's for a reason. It's for like you learn from it. And then even when I was a kid, like to me it's like, you know what, I feel like I'm going through this because I'm going to help somebody later on with this. And I've helped a lot
Mhm.
of people with the experiences that I've been through. And I've got family members and I'm like, you know what, you're kind of a crappy person. But for me, for my self love, like I've set boundaries and like, you know what, I have to be able to set this boundary, and you're not a person that I want to talk to. And it doesn't mean that I'm going at it
Yeah.
against, with hatred. It doesn't mean that I'm being mean about it. But, for me, self love is setting a boundary when I need to, when someone won't respect my boundaries. And if you won't respect my boundaries,
Yeah.
then I got to just cut you off. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't feel guilty about that at all, ever, 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 ever. And I tell my kids to be that way. I tell my kids it's okay to express themselves how they need to. So I got lots of little kids around here throwing tantrums because I tell them it's okay that they can express themselves. Because I don't, because
Right?
it's like when you bottle that all up, it's like then you get people that just don't know how to express themselves,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like there's a
Yeah.
lot
Girl, I
there.
feel you. Yeah. I mean, I got 4 kids too, and 3 of them are bonus kids, so I wasn't, like, in their lives from birth, but I've been in their lives for a lot of their, like, formative years and the parts where need to do some more parenting than you would like to sometimes, and
Yeah,
you're right, they are so different from each other that you literally can't parent them all the same. You just can't,
right.
like,
Nope, no,
at all.
no, no, no.
Like, not even close, and
Nope.
you have to, like, figure out what works for, like, each kid. Like, my
Mhm.
oldest daughter is a Gemini sun and an Aries moon. No, sorry, Aries rising and a Scorpio moon. I always get those 2 mixed up, and, like, she is, like, a completely different person in how she behaves, acts, what her emotional state is at any given time, how she handles those emotions, than, like, my youngest daughter, who's a Taurus sun and a Pisces moon and a Virgo rising. Like, she has a
Mm,
lot more earth, but she has that Pisces moon, which is really sensitive to, like, everything, everybody else's emotions, and she's the one who, easily picks up on what's going on in the house, and she gets upset because others are upset. Not necessarily anything's wrong with her, but she's picking up on their
right.
energies, and
Yeah, she picks it up
it's
on it. Yeah.
upsetting her. And with that Aries rising and my Gemini sun child, let me tell you, that is a combination that will test your parenting skills all the time, people. I love her to death. She's the greatest kid. I mean, she's not a kid anymore. She's an adult now. She's almost 19, but she's it's a completely different ball game. And then like, the youngest is a Virgo sun, like, and a completely different than like the girls, and
Yep.
completely different just because of that. Like, and it's so like, oh my God. And it's the same way with like me and my husband. Like, he's a completely he's a Scorpio sun too, in case I'm a Scorpio sun and moon and a Leo rising. He's a Scorpio sun, a Pisces moon, and a Cancer rising. So he's like all water in the top three. And I have that water and some fire, which kind of, tamps some of that water down, which is nice. But like, I'm super emotional. Like, super emotional with that Scorpio moon. Everything, I feel it, but I'm really bad about expressing it sometimes, and like at all, much less in a healthy manner. And so it's been really funny because we've had to learn to work together to really like express those
Hmm.
emotions to each other and be good about it, right? And not like, not fighting, not yelling, not doing anything, and
Right.
being emotional. And it's just, yeah. But knowing that, right? Knowing each other's charts has really helped. Knowing my kids' charts has really helped because I've been able to make sure that we're following what each one of them is best for them and how they react to things and how they would best take to parenting, and not have to,
Yep.
it's not one size fits all. And I think in our parents' defense, that's all they knew, and so that's what they did.
Correct.
And
That is what they
one
knew.
size
Yep.
fits all was exactly what they did, because that's, how it was back, then, especially in the
Right.
80s and 90s when we were born, girl. Like, you
Yep.
know, they were just coming out of like, the hippie parents who wanted to constantly be like smoking weed, and love is love, and doing things. And so I think that really made a lot of them a lot more strict because they didn't have a lot of like parental influence. They were like, oh, we're going
Yeah.
to not be that way. And they went too far to the other extreme, which
Yeah.
happens. And I decided I didn't want to be that way, but I didn't also didn't want to make sure that I didn't go like too far to the opposite. So now I'm like a permissive parent. So it's a journey. It's, girl, it has been rough. I love these kids, but man, they bring up things that you did not know was a problem until you have kids. And then you're like, holy fuck, I did not know I needed to work on this. Thank you. Thank you, kid, for bringing this up. And
You are
it's
absolutely
rough.
right. I love my kids, and I've got an Aquarius, two Leos, and a Virgo, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of those things where you can't parent your kids the same. I mean, you can't. And
Yeah.
I love how you said it, that you're following their chart to make sure that they have everything that they need, because I feel like I feel like that's really important for us these days to do. To allow,
Yeah.
like, I'm not completely on board with letting your kids just be completely willy nilly and like just making adult decisions for themselves as young children.
Yeah.
But again, they're not my kids. But like for me, I really feel like it's appropriate for them to express and explore things that's age appropriate for them. Because
Yeah.
I always look back at, like what I was exploring when I was their age. And, and I understand that times are different. I'm totally fine with that. And my kids are exploring lots of different things. And I feel like especially for us who are spiritual healers and leaders, and any
Hmm.
even if you're not, like if you're intuitive or empathic or any of that, just having like your intuition up and just really connecting with your kids on that spiritual level. I talk to my kids telepathically, so like being able to do that, and I feel like a deeper connection to them, and they're not afraid to
Hmm.
come to me when there's things going on. And that's probably the thing that I
Yes.
really love, because I know that, you probably had it where, I mean, I was like that. There were certain things I just didn't want to go to my parents to, because I didn't know. I knew they were going to act. I knew they were going to like blow their gasket.
Hmm.
I knew it was going to be bad.
Yep.
I was going to have to go through all that turmoil. And, I don't want my kids to feel that way. Like my kids will be like, hey,
Hmm.
mom, I need to talk to you privately because they don't want to talk to dad about it. They know that dad and I talk about stuff, but they
Yeah,
just felt
for
more
sure.
comfortable
My kids
talking to
too.
me about it.
Yeah.
And we sit down, we have a conversation about it. I make sure that they're okay. And astrology does help a lot with that, because it's like, I mean, I
Hmm.
my kid, my Aquarius kid, like she's a genius in her own right, but she will not let shit bother her. Like she does not want anyone to know that it's bothering her. And she's
Yes.
very, very outside the box. And I've got
Yes.
two
That's
Leos that love to be the center of attention. They love to be
mhm.
recognized in everything they do. And I got another one who's very, very analytical. You know, like she's just very intense and
Yep.
straightforward. And, you know, that's what she likes to do. And she's very smart and
Yeah.
she picks up on things quickly. And, you know, it's so, I mean, you just, you're right. Like, it's really important that we just allow our kids to be what they're cosmically designed to be, because at the end of the day, like, again, we're here for the collective. We're raising little people, and you know, I want them to be what they're supposed to be. I don't want them to feel hindered from exploring anything.
Yeah.
My kids do a really great job of that, even when it makes me nervous. I'm like, you really want to explore that? Are
Yes.
you sure? Are we really gonna jump off that
Yeah.
table today? Because I'm pretty sure you're gonna crack your
Right.
head open. You know, and then next thing I
Yeah.
know, they're taking a flight and they're fine. I'm like, okay, I guess it's just my anxiety. All right.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. 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 That's still one of the hardest things is letting your kids make decisions and choices that are age appropriate, obviously,
Mhm.
and trusting that they know their bodies and themselves well enough that it's going
Oh
to be
yeah.
okay. That is rough still because you don't want to see
Yeah.
your kids hurt. You don't want to see them
Right.
physically hurt, emotionally hurt. And so it's rough. It really is hard to like make yourself okay with that to the point that like you allow them to explore that in a safe place, right? In your home with you
Right.
present is the safest place a kid can make a choice and then possibly have a poor outcome. And they're
Right.
not, they're not out in the world experiencing that poor outcome and now they're on their own. And
Right.
so it's great for them, but it's rough for you as a parent. Jesus Christ, is it terrible? And the other thing that you said too about giving your kids like a safe space to come to you. That was one of the biggest things that I wanted to create because I'm with you. There was literally nothing I could tell my parents at all.
Right.
I mean, it didn't matter what it was. They would find some way to punish me for it or yell at me or turn it around so that I was somehow the bad person in the situation, even though I was, trying to come to them and tell them something. And
Right.
I have quite a few memories of things that you should feel safe telling a parent and that parent should be very protective of you of what you've told them
Yeah.
and go like ape shit on another human being because how dare you do this to my kid, and instead they went ape shit on me and acted like I
Yeah.
was the person that was in the wrong. And so it got to the point where I literally told them nothing ever about anything.
Right.
And they were like,
Right.
"You never tell us anything." Well, why would I? I have an entire history of every time I tell you something, you have a very poor reaction and you don't make me feel safe to come to you. So why would I? And I didn't want that. And I thankfully can confirm, at least with my oldest kid, for sure, because my oldest two are out of the house now, but they still do this. They come to us for so much. And they even feel comfortable now, the older two, that they're adults, calling my husband too and telling him shit that they would probably never tell me now, which is fine. But they feel comfortable calling and telling their dad, and
Right.
talking to him too about it. And I mean, the things that your teenagers tell you sometimes, and you have to just like sit there with a straight face because to them it's very important and it's very upsetting, even though you as an adult who's been on this earth for as long as we have knows that in the grand scheme of things it's really a minuscule stupid problem.
Mhm.
And you know they're being dramatic about it. You have to sit there and you have to let them know that, hey, you can come talk to me about this, even though you're sitting there running to roll your eyes, going, this is the dumbest thing ever. There's no reason that you should be this upset about this, right?
Well,
Because we know we've been there, but you don't want to
right.
say that to them because to
No,
them
I
it's
totally
important and
understand
it's
what you're saying. But I
yeah.
look back on times when shit was like super dramatic for me. And even though like
Hmm.
looking back on it now, I'm like, okay, like, all right, so she called me
Yeah,
a bad name, whatever. But the thing about it is at the time it was really dramatic for me.
it
And
was,
so like,
yes, and it's
you know,
important at that moment.
like here's how I kind of navigate that stuff. I wouldn't tell my 5-year-old son that, you know, when his sister hits him in the head that he shouldn't cry and that, you know, like it shouldn't be that big of a deal for him, even though she just bopped him and it's not that big of a deal. But to him it was a big deal. You know, I wouldn't
Yeah.
tell my 5-year-old son that. So when I look at navigating the world that my teenage daughters are in, because I have two, I kind of take the same approach because it is a really big deal for them. I know one of them
It
just had
is.
a breakup, and she was pretty upset about it, and her partner was, making some comments, and she was pretty crushed by it. And in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of things, they actually ended things pretty amicably, compared to what it could have been. But I
Yeah.
listened and I told her how much I loved her, and it was one of those situations. I was glad that she experienced it at home and not out in the real world. And because she's
Yes.
one that really she feels everything. Like she gets, I mean, her emotions
Mhm.
sit heavy on her. Like she would be in bed for 3 days if I let her be. But I try
Yeah.
to encourage her to work through it and to feel it for what it is and release it, and don't let it to completely impact her day to the point where she can't function, because nobody wants to function like that. But she just feels heavy.
Yeah.
She just feels it
She
hard.
does.
And I love all my kids. They all have beautiful different qualities, and they're unique in their own way. And they're really great kids. And I mean, I just think kids in general are really pure. And I'm really sorry that your
Mhm.
parents like went complete eight ship on you. Instead of, going after the appropriate people. I'm really sorry that happened, because it does a number on kids when you can't be a safe person that your kids can come to. That's a problem. Your kids will never tell
Yeah.
you anything, you know? And
Yep.
I've had friends that are like that. I've had friends come to my dad, and I went to my dad a lot for things, but I knew, it was almost, I knew what their expectations were. I knew what I could get away with, what I couldn't get away with. And there was definitely some
Mhm.
things I would never tell my parents. But I had a
Yeah.
friend who she had a pretty rough home life, and she felt really safe with my dad. And she told my dad some really serious things. And my dad handled it with
Yeah.
stride, listened to her, and gave some really great advice, and was like, this is what I would do, you know. But the most important question he asked was if she was okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need a ride
Yep.
home? Is there something I can do for you?
Exactly.
The most important thing was to
Yep.
make sure that she was safe. And, I really looked at my dad in admiration for that, because I know if I went with my dad, like went to my dad with what she was talking about, I'm like, my dad would fucking kill me. But I just like really admired the fact that he was so in the time of what was going on. He really had a
Yeah.
lot of empathy for her and wanted to make sure that she was okay. And yeah, I think it's important that parents think about how their inner child felt. That's one of the things that I do. I always look back at how did my inner child feel and how is this making me feel? And then I parent
Yeah.
accordingly to my kids. And we express a lot in our house. So there's like
Yeah.
no bones about my kids throwing tantrums and telling me how they think something is unfair. And I want them to tell me. I want them to tell me if
Yeah.
they feel like it. But we have the conversations of like, oh, why do you feel this is unfair? Because it goes back to defining things. It goes back to setting those boundaries, and being able to freely talk and defining what things really mean to you. And we have a lot of those family conversations, and we've got a lot of different signs in the household. So it's definitely never ever 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 a dull fucking moment in my house.
No. Never, girl, never. Oh my god, never. But I I don't it's taken a long time and a lot of therapy and inner work and shadow work and learning about, like, my astrology chart. That was really what did the most good
Yeah.
was, learning that I purposely chose these parents and this timeline and this life for the lessons that I needed to learn. And if I had done that, then I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't what I was supposed to have done, and it was that I wasn't supposed to learn something
Mhm.
from it. And like taking that responsibility for it in a way, like, okay, I chose this. So what can I take from this and like transmute that pain, that agony, whatever, into something good, right? And I think the greatest good, obviously, is my kids and changing the generational curses and
Right.
the type of parents I had. Um, I don't hate my parents and I don't, hold anything against them really anymore. Like I did for a long time. I was very angry at them for a really long time. Now this is going to probably sound terrible, but I really feel sad for them in a
Right.
way, almost pity, because they didn't have that ability to like
Correct.
really look inside of themselves and to learn better, because when we know better we do better, and they didn't have any capacity to try to know better. They didn't
Right.
either they didn't have it or they didn't want to. There's something going on. They just did not ever try to know better so they could do better by their kids. And it's not my place to judge why they didn't do that and all of that. So it's really helped. But all I know is that I knew that okay, I can't change them and I can't change the past, but I can change my future and my kids' future and not have them have the same problems that I had and all this stuff. And so I did that. And I it was not easy and I
Right.
still
A lot of
don't have
learning
a
curve there.
relationship with my yeah, because you don't know what you're doing. Because like the only
Right.
example I had of how to be a parent was my parents' example, and their example was terrible and
Right.
abusive. And I was like, well, I know I don't want to do that, but like, what's the alternative? Like, I don't know how to be a parent without that stuff. Like they have a stack of tools they were using. Were they the best tools? No, but that was the only tools I knew. And so learning new tools and new ways was very much a learning curve. And kids don't come with manuals and instructions and
No, they don't.
anything on like how to fucking do this. And it was rough. It was. But I feel sorry for my parents now because they are missing out on the
Mhm.
amazing grandkids that they have because of their biases, because of their bigotry, because of their hate, because of all the shit they did to me and their refusal to act in a way that I feel comfortable having my kids around them. So they're not in our lives and they haven't been in our
Right.
lives for a really long time. And they're not doing anything to try to change that. Like, and that is what makes me sad that they're missing out on so much because they absolutely refuse to try to change at all. And it's just sad to me that they don't want to try to even be different people, that they're okay with where they are and where it's led them. It's to the fact that two of their three children don't even have a relationship with them anymore. And all of those grandkids, that's five grandkids. And it's sad to me that they don't want that, but I just have accepted it because again, we can't change other people and we can't force them to be who we want them to be, no matter how much we would like that to be the reality. But I've gotten to a point where instead of being mad and angry and hating them, I really just feel sad about the whole thing, more
Right.
sad than anything else.
Well, I feel you first and foremost, and I have been through some similar experiences. We've got a couple family members that I don't want to say we don't allow them around, but we've drawn lines, we've drawn some boundaries, and
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. And it's like they're sitting in their own ego space because they're so consumed with what they did. I take that back. They're so consumed with the story they is that they created that
Yeah.
they just have lost like all touch of reality of like why the separation even happened. So I really feel for you on that, and I have had similar feelings regarding like my own mother, because it is really sad when you see someone who
Mhm.
is supposed to be a prominent person. But one of the things that I have learned on my spiritual journey, is basically you have to parent your inner child. You have to be what you didn't have, and
Yeah.
that is hard. It's hard to figure that out. But um, taking it a step further, I feel like there's always going to be that feeling of that biological connection where you're going to want those people to be in your life because they were there,
Mm-hmm.
they birthed you. um
Yeah.
and it's a sad feeling. But anytime I feel that way, I always send like a bubble of love with that sadness. I always send like that love out and give it to them because I'm taking the responsibility and I'm deciding that, I don't want to be sad about it. I'm going to send that person love because
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like when we feel that sadness, we're feeling a reflection from them, because it sounds like your
Yeah.
parents are in a lot of turmoil. It sounds like they do have a lot of like these ideas that are just not good. And, you did what you needed to do to protect your family, to keep your peace, to be in alignment, and you set that boundary and you put that space out there. And what you can do furthermore is, not allow yourself to necessarily feel sad, but to encompass it in light and say, you know what, I'm sorry that this is how it has to be, but I'm going to send you love because this is who I am. I'm a loving person. I am leading by example of what you should have been. and you should be proud of where you are, Ira. Like, I mean, I just think that you have really come a long ways, especially with what you've been talking about. So I don't know how that makes you feel with sending love. I used to have, I have a mentor that she would, anytime I get pissed off at somebody, she's like, just send it with love. I'm like, I don't want to fucking send them with love. I want them to sit on
Yeah.
fire right now. They've pissed me the fuck off. But at the end of the day, though, it's like when I think about that, it's like, that's me wishing harm on them, and that wouldn't be very nice. So, sitting in that
Yes,
space of
that
duality,
Scorpio
though,
side of me wants to do that sometimes too. That dark side is like, just fuck them all, burn them all to the ground, you know?
and you know what? I've had to let that side of me out at times because it just wouldn't leave me. But again,
Yeah.
it's going in there and setting those energetic boundaries and saying, okay, you can do this and you can fuck with their energy, but you cannot cause harm. You cannot cause harm because we are loving beings. um,
Yes.
but what I have found though is like when I do feel that way about people, I just send a bubble of love, and it's essentially me giving them like, I'm sorry that your life sucks. Like your life sucks. That's essentially what it is. Like their lives suck. They're doing some bad stuff. They're missing out on a ton. And giving love is honestly one of the best things that you can do because one, it's healing and it's very, very protective. And when you sit and you feel the place of sadness, you're still allowing that grief and that those feelings to kind of come in and be prominent there. And it sounds like maybe there's something still there that you should probably sit with and maybe look at and see if there's anything else that you need to know so that you can finally be able to release it. And that shit takes time. Like I had to
Yeah.
cut cords with people in my life because it was hard. And I don't say I don't have that connection with my mom anymore. I cut that cord because it was really, really hard. She was present, but she wasn't present. Like it was one of the hardest things as a kid to grow up and see like your mom just glued to the TV all the time, always drinking a Pepsi and smoking cigarettes. And
Yeah.
it's like there wasn't really a whole lot like there. There were some things that she taught. Do I believe that she really loved me? I do believe that she really loved me, but there were a lot of things that I wish I could have connected her on more. And it wasn't it was what it was. She was
Yeah.
there, quote unquote, but she wasn't really there. And she
Yeah.
wanted
She's
me
like
on her
physically
time when
present, but
yeah, she wanted me on her time when she was ready for it. And I'm sorry, I don't operate that way. You're either there
yeah.
for me and this is equal duality, or you're not. And
Hmm.
again, it's going back to self-love is like you learn what it is that you need and what makes you feel at most peace. And, that's what you got to go with. And
Hmm.
if people don't like it, then
100%.
they don't really truly respect you.
Nope. And unfortunately, sometimes when we set up those boundaries, we set those up because we need to protect ourselves, our family, our energy, whatever. But you really kind of hope that the people like that you're setting those boundaries for will eventually come to like their senses and want to change things so those boundaries don't need to be set anymore. Like they'll like meet you halfway or they're compromised. And when it doesn't happen, it can be a little bit upsetting sometimes, I think, for especially when you first start setting them. I've
Right.
obviously come after all these years to the understanding that as much as I would like things to change, I can't make things change and I can't make the people that I've set these boundaries and be people that they're just not ready to be. Um, but it's been a rough time and a rough lesson, especially because it's
Right.
people like you love. Like you're biologically designed to love your parents no matter what shit they put you through, right? And so it's really hard for it to be the parents that are the problem. And I've noticed this too in my sister because she's just in the beginning stages of having to, unfortunately, also set some boundaries
Right.
with my parents and enforce those and basically cut them out of their lives. And I didn't have anybody when I was going through it, like who understood because no one else in my family had done this or been there. So it was mainly just me crying to my husband all the time, about what was going on and
Hmm.
him trying to support me the best he could. Fortunately for my sister, I have been there and done that. And so
Right.
when she gets upset or she needs to bitch or cry about it, she calls me up and we talk about it and we talk through everything that she's feeling and I just give her a safe space to like let those emotions out and not be
Right.
judged, right?
Right.
Like, just
Absolutely.
I'm okay. Just go through them, scream, yell if you need to. I don't care. I will be okay because I know that A, you're not, these are not about me. And B, like, you need a place to let these feelings out in a safe way and these
Right.
emotions out. Because if we don't feel the emotions, they get stuck and trapped in our body and they cause disease down the road. And I don't want that
Hmm.
for her. And so she's unfortunately in the beginning stages, and it's rough because you go through like the stages of grief. Because like it's like they've died, but they're not actually dead, but they are dead because they're dead
Correct.
to you currently. And so yeah, I've moved through the majority of them and gone back and then go back through them. And like grief is
Yeah.
not a linear journey.
No,
And
it's not.
she's she's still vacillating between like the anger and acceptance phase because
Hmm.
you know it's your parents and it really pisses you off that they've chosen to behave a certain way. That makes it not conducive to them being allowed in your life until they want to change those behaviors. And it
Right.
is what it is. I'm with you. You can't change it. You have to learn to accept it. But my sister is a Taurus, and she's right on the cusp of like a Taurus and a Gemini.
Hmm.
And because like her birthday is the 21st, but because she was born in the morning, she's like technically a Taurus, but like the sun changed into Gemini like later that same day, like a few hours after she was born. So she has a lot of like the Gemini qualities and everything as well as the Taurus, but she gets those that I feel everything and these feelings are
Yeah.
huge from the Gemini side. And so she's never again, because we didn't have a safe place going up, had a safe space to like really express those without feeling like that judgment or actually being punished for it. And so she's just kind of in that phase of her journey now, learning to do that after all these years. And it's um, I'm just happy that I can be there for her and support
Yeah.
her and be what she needs because I didn't have that. Because she hadn't been there yet, so she didn't really understand, and so it was, I couldn't call her. Thankfully, my other sister, um, she's not my biological sister, but she is like a sister of my heart, 100%.
Hmm.
She went through the same thing with her family before me, and so she understood. So I leaned on her a lot for things, and
Right.
we still talk about it. It's still something that we bring up because she called me the other day, like last year I think it was. Her father passed away and she hadn't had a relationship with him in years, and she was like, do I go to the funeral? Like, it's a huge thing. Like, I don't even know this person anymore. I've had to cut them off because of their horrible behavior, but like it's still my dad. Do I go? Do I not go? Like, like we had to have a whole conversation about it because you just, like that's not something that you ever think about having to navigate when you've set those boundaries. And so and that got me thinking, well, what the fuck would I do?
Right.
you know?
I've had the same thoughts, and honestly, I think a lot of times what we feel is like society has told us that it's important to go and honor the dead, especially the ones that are around us. Like, I know my
Yeah.
grandfather, for example, felt obligated that he had to take care of his mother because it was how they were,
Mm-hmm.
it was how he was raised. But she was a terrible person that they lived with. I mean, my dad remembers her being an awful person. And
Right.
it's like again, we go back into like these learned beliefs, is what we were told. And, it's really important to define what those are for you. So if she doesn't want to go to the funeral, she doesn't have to. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, because the thing at the end of the day, her dad is dead, he's gone. She can make peace with him in the spirit realm right
Right.
now without having to go and subject herself to a bunch of bullshit at the funeral. She doesn't have to do that. And it doesn't matter what they think,
Yeah.
especially when things are separated. Unless she wants to go and,
Exactly.
interact with family or whoever it is that's there. I've had the same conversation with myself, like what would I do? Like, if something happened to my mom, and there's a part of me where I'm kind of leaning both ways, because my mom and I still kind of talk, but um, you know, I don't know exactly what I would do. That's honestly my honest opinion. Like, it depends upon where we are, but we don't have a real tight relationship right now. And I had to cut ties energetically just so I can get through it, because it was painful. But I don't regret doing it, because it was the way that I got through it. I had to separate myself from it. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I had to be what I needed to be. So I have mothered myself, I've mothered my
Mm-hmm.
children, I helped mother other people. I went through a period of time where I really, 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 really craved a mother figure. And there were,
Yeah.
I mean, people left and right that were in my life that I'm like, I think this can be it. I think this can be it. You know, it's like you're searching for something. When at the end of the day, I had to just look within myself because I'm a damn good mother. I'm a really good mother to my kids. My husband knows it. My family knows it.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I'll just be what I needed to be. So at times when I am feeling like I don't want to do these damn chores. Okay, Ashley, we're doing this because we're providing for the family. Let's go. We're gonna do this
Yep.
laundry. It'll be all right, you know? So
Yes.
it
God, I hate
just
laundry.
I hate laundry too. But at the end of the day, we just have to be what we needed to be. And you know what? There are times when I'm like, fuck that laundry. It's gonna wait for tomorrow because when any time that I'm ever lonely, laundry is always there for me. You
Right. It's
know?
not going anywhere. And with 4
Hell
kids,
no,
it
it's not going
never
anywhere.
goes away. So it'll be fine. Yes. Yes. Well, I would love to keep talking, but we have like totally gone over our time. But I hope nobody who's listening to this minds because it's been an awesome conversation.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you so that if they want a mala or an energy necklace or want to check out your really awesome program that is opening soon, they can do that.
All right, absolutely. First I want to say I'm just so thankful that we did this. I love connecting with you. You're one of my favorite people, and I love seeing what you're doing. So I just wanted to say that, and I'm super proud of everything you're doing. I think it's great with your rebranding. So thank you for inviting me on here, especially after you like, you know, done your rebranding and really like boosted yourself up. So I'm just in gratitude to you. I really appreciate you. Um, so as far as where people can find me at, you can find me at www.elementalconnectionsandcreations.com. It's all one word. You can go on there and check out the malas that I have, the healing jewelry that I have. I have a variety of crystals. Don't necessarily judge my website because it is a work in progress and I am a one-woman show as far as my business. So I am slowly working on it in between taking doctor's appointments and pink eye and wiping diapers and all that stuff. You know how it is. But you can always reach out to me there. You can find me on Facebook as Ashley Rose. I have a professional Facebook, so you should be able to find me on there. And then Elemental Connections and Creations. I have a business page on there. I have a group, Elemental Connections and Divination Practice. You're welcome to join. And my program will be launched February 1st. It's going to go live on my website. I got to figure out how to get all that up, but the intention with the program is for you to be able to discover your own universe through the U method, which is your own universe, be the master of your own universe, and to be able to look at the world and look at life through the lens of love, because you're defining what that means. You're essentially stepping into your bubble and you will become the master of your world. You're going to make it what you want it to be, because that literally is what we're here for. So that's going to go live on February 1st. You can go to my website and be able to find that. And it's going to be a 2-part class once a month. So you can tap into that. It'll be recorded if you can't make it to the live class. And you'll be able to reach out to me and have some support if you need. All the details will be on there on February 1st. So I'm so excited about it. I'll have other things up there as well, as far as elemental chakra balancing, the elemental crystal guides for love. I plan on expanding that, but we're going to start with love first, because obviously the Alchemy of Love is the first program that's coming out. And then I will also have a mini empowerment course on there. So if you don't want to tap into the love sector of it and you just want to feel empowered, I will have a course on there for empowerment as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley. Everybody go check out her stuff for real. I'm not just saying this because she's my friend. I'm saying it because it's true. She's awesome. Her stuff is awesome. I've seen some of the stuff for her course, and that is awesome. So please go check it all out. All the stuff you need to know will be in the show notes. And I thank you for listening, tuning in. I love you all. Appreciate you. Until next time, love and light.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed making it. You can find all relevant links to today's show in the show notes below. If you loved the show today, please subscribe, follow, and leave me a review. I love to hear your thoughts, and it helps me know what is a hit and to make more of that content, especially for you. If you want to learn more about me and how I can help you, head over to atlaastrology.com. There you can sign up for a medical astrology package, download my free sun sign and your health ebook, read the blog, and so much more. If you want to connect more outside the podcast, follow my Instagram channel @atlaastrology or join my Astro Connection community, the link to which you can find in the show notes. Until next time, love and light.